to echo our guy Goldie, and then there were three. Ryan Bader wins his bracket of the Heavyweight Grand Prix. Now it's down to 2 tomorrow night. Chael P. Sonnen takes on Fedor Emelianenko. Whoever wins that faces Ryan Bader in the finals of the Heavyweight Grand Prix. Joining me once again all night long, Frank Mir, Josh Thompson. Guys, your thoughts here. Look, Ryan Bader, I mean, from the start, the two things we thought that Matt Mitrione was gonna have to worry about was that big right hand and that takedown. And within 6 seconds, he did both.
I like that Ryan Bader went right to what he does best. Went right to the shot, took him down, imposed his will, and didn't look for any ways to try to make it anything else besides win the fight. I thought it was a great game plan, and the way he went out there, we all knew that Matt Mitrione had a weakness, and he exploited it and took advantage of it.
Yeah, for me, I said it from the beginning. I said I like to see Matt Mitrione, the way he's going to win this fight is stop one takedown.
Right.
If you stop one, it makes Bader a little bit more hesitant to shoot the second, right? And then when you can stop one, maybe chin a second one together, then they don't come as easy. And then Bader starts second guessing. He never had the opportunity, never even stopped one takedown. And every opportunity he had to get back up to his feet, I felt like he hesitated before even stepping up or getting his back to the fence. And that kind of right there gave Bader a chance to set and take him back down to the ground.
And having Ryan Bader just on you like that, it is a torrential downpour of pressure, and it's absolutely exhausting.
Somebody I actually worked with on the reality show, and I got to feel his strength. And it's something I actually mentioned to Mitrione in passing was, hey, don't be fooled, he's extremely strong. And he felt it tonight. Not only is he strong as a physical, as a human being, but he's always in good position. He's constantly trapping that bottom wrist. You see there, all night long, he constantly rolled for it. And Matt Mitrione never really identified how to avoid it. That's not really something you want to fight out of. It's something you want to avoid to get stuck in. And all night long, he had rolled the wrist perfectly, Ryan Bader.
I would like to have seen him go for maybe like posturing up a little bit more, let more strikes go, see if Matt Mitrione would have made a mistake on coming back up, and then it would have opened up maybe a guillotine or some sort of side choke or something along those lines. It would have put Matt Mitrione in a position where he had to force himself to get up while he was taking strikes. That would have made it easier for Bader to get a submission.
Did you think, though, maybe he played a little safer because, look, his first fight was against King Mo, right? This is a legitimate heavyweight. Maybe you're sitting there trying to, as he said, like trying to feel out a guy who's 255 pounds.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I'm up here with you guys because it takes one punch when you're in a heavyweight division. One shot and it changes everything. And I think that's something that Bader realized. Hey, you're on top of a big, powerful guy. He gets up to his feet and he lands that shot. All that work, you could be winning for 14 minutes and 59 seconds. You get a 255-pound man, lands a right hand on the chin, all of a sudden you're getting explained what happened.
I have no arguments with what he did. He had a dominant performance. I thought he looked great. He looked amazing. He implemented his game plan like he should have. He did everything he should have done, okay, to the T. The only complaint I have, though, is that I would have liked to have seen him open up a little bit more, knowing that Matt Mitrione, as the fight goes on, he has a tendency to slow down. I would have liked to have seen him put the pressure on in the later rounds and try to get him out of there.
All right, hey, again, Mike Goldberg, Big John McCarthy, these guys have the best seat in the house all night long, so let's bring them in on the conversation. Boys.
Jay, thank you very much, and Frank has been very humble and classy as always, and he knows about this heavyweight division. Josh knows a little something about wrestling. Both men know a little something about championships, and you know what? They talk about it all the time. You got to embrace the grind, and that's what Bader did.
Look at Ryan Bader fought the fight that he needed to fight to beat Matt Mitrione. You cannot blame him. You cannot doubt what he did. It was a dominant performance, Mike. He went out and took him. Every round was 10-8. 10-8 against a very good heavyweight that hasn't lost a fight in a long time, has never lost here in Bellator. And he 10-8'd him in those 3 rounds. That was a beautiful performance by Ryan Bader.
You know what I love, John, is the fact that he has, you know, obviously he doesn't care who he fights. He just wants to win. But just because of being a fan and being around and watching The Last Emperor, the GOAT, he would love to fight Fedor Emelianenko. Who wouldn't want that opportunity to beat Fedor and leave with the belt?
You look at the opportunity that you have, and either guy that he's fighting, you got to look and you got to say, well, who does he probably match up with the most? He probably matches up better against Chael because they're both wrestlers, and he's the younger, stronger, bigger wrestler. And so that's probably the safer matchup for him.
Good point.
But He looks at it and goes, I want to beat the man. I want to beat the guy who I was watching and who I idolized when I was young in my career. That's the guy I want to fight against. You got to love that attitude.
But, of course, don't forget that JLP Sonnen said, you know, I don't want to be a spoiler here, but I'm going to win. That's tomorrow. He already told us that.
So then we know it's going to be Chael.
All right, it's going to be Chael. We'll find out tomorrow night right back here. We'll be in Long Island. Cannot wait. Let's talk about this welterweight fight because it did have ramifications in another Grand Prix. That's the 170-pound Grand Prix. Lorenz Larkin with the victory officially becomes the alternate. If somebody falls out, the Monsoon moves in.
He does. And look, Lorenz Larkin had a beautiful fight plan against Ian Pascu. Pascu is a tough guy who's got an iron chin, and you cannot get rid of him. He comes at you with his wrestling. He comes at you with, he's called the bombarder, and he bombs you with shots. But it was the speed of Lorenz Larkin. That was the difference in this fight. Lorenz Larkin was able to utilize that speed to put Ian Pascu in positions where he couldn't stop some of the shots. He was unable to continue with some of his takedowns, and Lorenz Larkin is a hard fight for anyone.
No question about it. All right, we won't see Mitrione and Fedor again, but what if Lorenz Larkin advanced and we get a rematch with Douglas Lima?
I would like to see the rematch of either Douglas Lima and Lorenz Larkin or Paul Daly, because if you go back to the Paul Daly fight, Lorenz Larkin was doing the most damage. He was the guy controlling the fight, but it only takes one from Paul Daly. He has got a left hook that he could put anybody in any weight class out, and that's what he did to Lorenz Larkin.
All right, talking about the Monsoon, speaking of Lorenz Larkin, here is Jen Brown.
All right, I'm here with Lorenz Larkin. Congrats on picking up the win tonight. Hey, before we get into the serious stuff, you had that interview with Big John, but you looked like you wanted to say something there at the end. What were you trying to say?
Yeah, for this Grand Prix, you know, because I look at things from, like, a smart perspective, right? So I'm like, 50, you know, if you putting up $1 million, make sure you put up a little bit more so we can pay the taxes on that $1 million. Okay. You know that, because he's a boss, right? So do a boss thing. Pay the taxes on the $1 million so we get $1 million.
So let's talk about that, because you're talking about the $1 million. So there's some confidence in you that you feel like then, now that you've secured this alternate spot for the Welterweight Grand Prix, do you feel like you're going to get that call at some point to step in and fight?
You know what? I'm just going to be optimistic, you know. It's kind of a weird situation because I'm like, you know, do I really want somebody to get hurt? You know, one side of me, you know, yeah. But, you know, we'll see. You know, this fight was, I had a long layoff, and it kind of showed for me and my team, you know, in the fight. And a lot of things weren't clicking, a lot of things were clicking. So, you know, I just need to be active. Be active. You know, this is like almost 10 months since my last fight. So
let's talk about that, because you said you hate layoffs, and now in this position, you're the alternate. Kind of means like you got to be in shape and in camp and ready all the time. Is there a balance that you can find? And then kind of what's that approach now? Because are you looking for the next fight? Are you waiting for the call? Like, what's that game plan moving forward? I'm
not too sure how it's going to work. I mean, the only logical thing for me to make that work would probably be to schedule me when a alternate fight, when the Grand Prix is happening, you know.
Fight on that same card.
Yeah, so, you know, if somebody gets hurt, then my opponent gets pulled, and then I just get jumped, come in. So, I mean, I don't know. I didn't really go through the fine-tunings of things, but that's the only thing that would make sense for me, you know.
All right, well, hey, you had a great performance out there tonight. We look forward to seeing you back in the cage whenever that is, and a great job out there tonight.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys, back up to you.
That's the alternate fight for the Welterweight Grand Prix. We finished the night with the Heavyweight Grand Prix. We started the night there with the lightweights. Carrington Banks took out the man sitting there at the end, Mandel Nalla, who came into this fight 6-0. You left tonight 7-0 against a very tough opponent.
He's really good. You know, it's hard. I'm pretty untested professionally, and Carrington Banks is a great opponent and a great step in the right direction. He is a perfect step up.
Well, you stepped up with a knee. Check out this highlight. Take us through it.
Yeah, all right. I can do that.
We'll really put you on the spot. This is tougher than the fight.
Yeah, the first... Ooh, boy.
Well, there it is.
So, that was quick. The first round was difficult, and my striking coach, Conrad Pla, had told me to aim techniques that are more directed at the chest because he's dipping his head. So, when he dipped his head, I threw a technique that would land generally in the chest level, and that was what landed.
How did you feel throughout the fight, though, in the first round? Because there was a lot of scrambles, a lot of things going on. You had a very tight anaconda that him and I were talking about earlier. Yeah. What were you missing, you think, in that finish?
I think he did more things right than I did wrong to get out of that choke. Like, he kept the arm on the far side of my hip, so I couldn't really squeeze as well as I wanted to. And it's, you guys know, you're skirting that line between I'm finishing this fight in the first round and my arms are going to be finished for the next 2 rounds. So he did more things right than I did wrong.
Another thing I really liked watching the fight was your stance. Even though, look, I guess we can say at this point wrestling is possibly your weakness because no one's ever gone the distance with you. You've either knocked them out or finished them with submissions. But that being said, against Banks, you were eye level with him. You're the longer fighter, but your stance was right at there low.
That's right.
Is that something you made an adjustment for this fight? Or because that you want to keep it standing, keep it striking, is that an adjustment you've made training out of the TriStar gym?
Yeah, Faraz has a great thing. He always says stay eye level, especially when you're the taller guy. You'll watch a lot of taller guys. They end up getting hurt with the overhand right because they're standing tall and the overhand right comes from underneath their hand. So they don't end up seeing it. When you're eye level with a guy, you generally see what's going on. It's easier to defend takedowns, and it's easier to defend the right hand as well. So that's kind of the way I like to fight.
Again, congratulations. You did a great job up here being an analyst. I like it. That's very technically sound. I like it. Real good.
We just got to move the mic a little lower so people can see that beautiful face.
The beard is sick. I know the beard is very nice.
Well, we appreciate it again. Hey, Mandel Nallo goes to 7-0. You can go celebrate now with the rest of your team.
I appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
Guys, again, our heavyweight Grand Prix was preceded by the co-main event. Big Country, Roy Nelson took on Sergey Kharitonov.
Hey, you're right.
Sergey Kharitonov landing that jab over and over and over. There was a knee involved here. It took some time out, an illegal knee, but eventually Kharitonov just starts stalking Roy Nelson, and this is something we don't see a lot. Roy Nelson just took punishment and then face plants. Something we do not see of Roy Nelson.
No, like I told you guys, I've faced Roy Nelson in the past. I've sparred with him. Roy has a legendary chin. You talk about Roy Nelson, we talk about the overhand right. You talk about his chin. I mean, very few guys he's faced, and he's faced some powerhouses. I mean, JDS. I mean, Alistair Overeem.
Frank Mir.
Weird if I toot my own horn, but thank you. I mean, I remember after our fight, I had bruises on my knees from his chin. He has an incredible ability to take and absorb punishment and deliver it back at you. So to see Kharitonov do what he did tonight, the slickness, the technique that you were pointing out, it was a very beautiful night for him.
Wait, look at this. So, hey, as we're talking about this, we're not going to bother waiting. He's not going to wait.
My man.
Brian Bader's just going to walk right in here crashing. Hey, there's something called a cue. You know, you didn't even wait your turn.
Come right in.
Yeah.
You do what you want.
See how much energy you still have? You have more energy.
Hey, let me have my night, all right?
And, hey, it is amazing. Again, Ryan Bader met you 11 years ago, started training together, and now we are hosting your heavyweight Grand Prix semifinals. Matt, it's unreal to think about after all these years that you're in the heavyweight Grand Prix finals for Bellator.
Almost there, I know, man. We were doing jiu-jitsu back in the day. He was throwing elbows and regular rolling, of course. You know, but
Can you blame me? Look at the dude.
No. You know, I'm one fight away right there from being the heavyweight champion. You know, I went out there, stuck to my game plan, fighting a big, dangerous heavyweight who many said he was a #1. You know, in this tournament, #1 contender in Bellator right now. He was undefeated. So going out there and just implementing my will, getting 10-8 rounds, you know. It wasn't the prettiest, but I had to fight him like that.
Do you think if it hadn't been the tournament format, have you not looking and going, okay, there's a lot at stake now. You winning and being a 2-division champion, that's a huge endeavor that very few people, I mean, let's face it, few people are champions. No one, I mean, who else is going to be a 2-weight champion? Do you think that made you real, you know, change your game plan as far as maybe you would have went for the finish a little bit more, where in this you're like, hey, look, I got this fight won. It's a dominant 10-8 round after round. I got another fight, you know, on the 26th of January.
Yeah, that's a great question, and yeah, it does play a little bit in your mind. You want to get out of there. We have a date already, you know, and it's a couple months away. You got to be come out of there healthy, ready to go. You can't have a broken hand, have a war where you're getting back and forth. Why would I go in there and stand against Matt Mitrione when I know I can take him down and do what I did in there tonight?
Yeah, the fact that he was 255 pounds, when you were in there, obviously it's going to be in your head going in. But did you feel afterwards like, no, I can deal with these heavyweights? Or did you feel after, oh, these guys are a lot bigger than me?
No, 100%. You know, I was out there, training with Stipe, doing all that. So I've been around heavyweights, and for me, being in there, it definitely boosted my confidence. That said, there were times when he's a big boy, I'm trying to get a wrist ride. Usually I finish people right there. I just finished that fight against Lynn Vassell with that. But he was big and he kept popping my wrist. I really couldn't get the torque on it.
Yeah, I was noticing that you had the angle, you're sitting on the bottom leg, you're reaching behind the back. You know, Khabib's made it famous now. I think everybody calls it the Khabib when you roll the bottom wrist. And he seemed to be able to horse himself back up.
Yep.
That surprised you a little bit?
A little bit, because he's big around the waist. He's a big boy overall. And then, the ref was really big on not hitting the back of the head. And so I was pretty hesitant there because he warned me a few times. And he was doing a good job of turning his head where I have his right wrist, locked down. And so that means I can't throw with my right. So all he has to do is just cover up.
Was there anything that surprised you about Matt Mitrione and his game plan coming out? I know that there wasn't much fight on resisting the takedown.
Yeah.
Was there anything that surprised you on the way he got up or the way he was kind of defending the takedown or anything along the lines?
Kind of how long he was when he was on his feet. Once he starts getting his arms out there, you're like, man, he's long and he's quick. He is quick. And it surprised me that he kept on getting up to the final bell, to be honest. I was putting on him pretty hard, and he kept getting up, and he's tough too.
Have you had a chance yet at any of the highlights looking at the screen? Did you see how close the Kimura was?
Yeah, I heard him a few times.
Did you see? I mean, his hand was floating.
Yeah, I did not see that. So I heard him kind of scream, and I was trying to get a little reset on his arm. But once again, that's kind of the heavyweight. His arm was was big. It was long, and so I was trying to step over his head.
Let's take a look at it real quick.
Yeah, he did a great job from half guard, trapping the wrist, locking it down. He had the arm bent.
He kind of laid back on it right there a little bit. Yeah.
That was a nice little move he did right there where he planted his hand and
have you seen that yet?
Yeah, no.
You haven't seen that yet?
No, I haven't.
It was that close.
Yeah. Again, there it floated.
Hey, he's a friend of mine. He didn't want to pop his shoulder out.
You almost came up here like you're almost apologizing for your performance. Don't apologize for your performance.
I know. I want to go out
Not
there
at
and
all.
knock people out. I want to, highlight real, but that was a dominant performance.
Yep.
I'm not, I don't need to apologize. I went out there, used my wrestling, used my ground and pound, and beat him up.
Yeah,
so now, real quick before I let you go, tomorrow night, Chael goes against Fedor, and Chael obviously, but the fact that he kind of grew up watching Fedor, and he was the king back then. The chance to actually face Fedor Emelianenko, what goes through your mind?
Man, I almost got the chills right there. Yeah, he's one of the best heavyweights of all time. I grew up watching him. And, I've seen him around, Bellator events, and a super cool guy, and a mystique about him. That's what I want. I want to go in there and fight in a Grand Prix, which he came up on for the heavyweight championship of the world, 2-division champion, and have it be Fedor Emelianenko.
But if Chael Sonnen wins, you're going to have to start warming up your vocal cords. You got to come up with something.
I know. I'm pretty terrible at it, too, so he's going to run me in the ground for that.
Ryan Bader, congratulations. You are one step more toward history here, the possibility of being the first ever 2-division champ here in Bellator. All right, folks, tomorrow night, again, whoever's going to face Ryan Bader, that comes up tomorrow night in the other semifinal of the Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix.